Picked up this this little number at the supermarket. It's called meatloaf mix, which is a little bit of ground beef, ground pork, and ground veal. It's close to 2.5 pounds of meat all together. I like to put some diced onion in my meatball. I don't know if that's a no-no. But I'm going to use the rest of this little quarter onion that I had left over. Maybe I'll give it a little bit more of a fine mince. No one needs to bite into a meatball with a giant chunk of onion come flying out. I find that if you just kind of go like this, it takes off the leaves, the parts of the stem that are tender enough to eat. Alright, I got this is probably about a tablespoon plus a teaspoon of parsley and about a half a cup of diced onions, finely diced, and I'm using that for 2.41 pounds of ground meat. I like to use, 1 egg per pound of meat for meatballs. Since I have 2.41 pounds, I'm just going to use 2 eggs. Use a fork to whisk my eggs. You do not want to overwork the meat. You want to have nice fluffy balls. But you also want to ensure that all of the ingredients are fully incorporated and consistent all the way through. So this is how I do it. Well, first of all, dealing with 3 different kinds of meat. Take a little bit of this meat, a little bit of this meat, like equal portions. So this isn't exactly the most ideal Parmesan cheese, but at least it's not that crap that comes in the green can. And now I'm going to try and do this work without getting both hands dirty. So first a little bit of this. A little bit of these breadcrumbs. This is actually, I think this used to be pita bread. I had it in the fridge, it dried up, so I just kind of crumbled it. I'm not really giving measurements here because I'm just kind of going by, what looks right. Okay, now I'm going to use this hand, and I'm basically like my index and middle finger and my thumb, and just kind of pinch, pinch. Pinchy pinch. Pinch, pinch, pinch until all of that is fully incorporated. Did I forget anything? I did. Forgot onions and parsley. I'd say it's pretty good. I can probably move on to the next little... Oh, wait a minute now. Alright. Next. Let's go bigger this time. Let's take that amount. Baby. Don't forget this. I'm just kind of scooping it up and moving the bottom to the top, but don't be tempted to go like this and then, because that's overworking the meat. So I guess it's fully incorporated when it looks something like this. Got to make some decisions as to how big you want your meatballs. You want to do like the big mother meatballs or just like little meatballs. I mean, some people like to use an ice cream scoop, and that way all of your meatballs are the same size. Now that we were very gentle when mixing it together, we can kind of get, more aggressive with it at this stage. By aggressive, I just mean, you could slap it a little bit to shape it into a ball. They're about 2 equal portions. Let's start with this one. And I'm going to just start. So now I'm going to, let's see. This one can probably be turned into 2. Let's see. Now I'm just gonna slap them into a ball. That's a big meatball. And I think that's the size I'm gonna go for. Say about 2.5 inches in diameter. So I'll probably wind up with like 8 meatballs. Aren't those pretty? Slap, slap, slap. Dun, 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 da, 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 So I got my meatballs. I got my sauce. See the bubbling going on in there. Very, very low flame. Gonna get a big pot, put some water in it to boil, and while that's working, I'm gonna start on these babies. Got my big pot of water. Oh, that's heavy. Put it at a relatively high heat. Got my big old frying pan out. I'm gonna put this at medium high heat. I'm gonna get some olive oil in here. It's like 2 teaspoons. We'll wait for this to get a little hot. I'm feeling for heat. It's getting there. When the oil starts kind of shimmering, it's when you know it's time to put your little balls in. Okay. This big mother can go in the middle. Get them close to each other. I want to get them toward the center so that they cook. I'm going to brown as many sides of them as I can. And this is definitely a 2 spatula job. Okay, this is how I'm doing it. I'm using this over here as a little wall, and then going in with the other one, scooping under. Oh yeah. So I'm going to try and get as many sides as I can. I know they're spheres, so they don't really have sides. I'll do, you know, like top, bottom sides. Let's see. Alright. So now that I've done the top and the bottom, try and go for one of the sides. Now you take a look at the water here. It's showing a little bit of steam and some little bubbles. And so this is a point where I am going to add salt and cover it and wait for it to get to a rolling boil. Less than 2 teaspoons. So for 2 people, I'm going to use half a box of spaghetti, and that's still going to be too much. It's time to move these bad boys. Let's see. What can I do with these guys? I think I'm just going to leave them because now I've got... Oh no! Oh no! Oh, I broke one. Come on now. I made the mistake of trying to squish it back into a globular shape, and now it's broken. And you know why it's broken? Because they're so tender and delicate, because I didn't overwork the meat. They're kind of turning more into meat cubes than meatballs. Come on. So I flipped them over. And this is like side 6, and I started off with meatballs and wound up with meat trapezoids. Now that these have been browned on all sides, I'm going to lower the heat and cover them. And looks like my water's at a rolling boil. It's time to get, whoa, look at that go. Woo! All right, woo! Okay. So while this is going, I'm going to get a strainer ready in my sink. I'm just going to let these meatballs go for as long as it takes for this pasta to cook. Every so often, judge it. Hot stuff coming through. Come my God, I got every last noodle in there. That's a first. So I just shut off my meatballs, or meat trapezoids. And thanks for helping, Mr. Chompers. Said time to plate this baby. And this is my spaghetti and meatball dinner all plated up. I got the spaghetti on the bottom, followed by one meatball. You can kind of hardly see it over the sauce. I like sauce. And you can check out how I made the sauce on my other video. I have it linked to this one. And on top of that, I sprinkled some Parmesan cheese and some chopped up parsley. And the meatballs were nice and fluffy. They were nicely seasoned. I didn't even have to put any salt in them because the Parmesan cheese gave it as much salt as it needed. I hope you liked my video. I wouldn't mind hearing some critiques in the comment section. I'm always up for suggestions. Well, I'm getting pretty hungry, so I think I'm going to sit and eat my dinner now. Bone apple teeth.